it's really going to come down to whether or not Popo and Koopa can make that difference. Homeboys, on the other hand, for their goal laner, is going to go with the Claude this time round. This should be more than enough, but then again, it's very, very dependent. I mean, they could have gone for the Beatrix, but knowing that Lolita will be able to block a lot of the projectiles with the Guardian's Bulwark, I think this is a much better option.
Yeah, I think Lolita was meant as a sort of predetermined pick to kind of avoid Homeboys from having access to the Beatrix. Something that I'm kind of wondering about. Does every single one of the little glues in his ultimate count towards Art of Thievery stacks?
Little one of the glue. Oh, I don't think so.
Because like I know when you consider like lifesteal heroes like Ruby or Faramis, it does. Does it count for Claude?
No, I don't think so because it's still considered one entity.
Okay.
Which is still it's rather funny how that works. But yes, it would be really funny if you auto attack him once and you get like a bajillion Art of Thievery. But this is gonna be it. This is gonna be game 3 of our very first best of 3 match of today. You've got the Homeboys going up against Suhaz Esports. Suhaz Esports on the blue side with Homeboys on the red. Let's get into it in the land of Dawn.
Everything is now on the line for both of these teams. 1-1. This best of 3 series has turned into a best of 1, and it's up to both Homeboys and Suhaz Esports to decide through their execution and gameplay who is going to be the victor in both of their debut matches of MPLMY Season 9.
They don't want anything to get in their way, so if they are having any issues, they'll immediately call their marshals to make sure the integrity of this game is tip-top shape. So, if you want the best of the best, you're going to have to deal with these pauses once in a while. Sorry to the audience, it's unfortunate, but hey, these are professional players. They don't want to be playing at a disadvantage.
Yep, as someone who does join you guys in the audience fairly often, I know that some of you are going to be complaining about the pause right now. I'm pretty sure if you play ML and you start lagging or something's wrong with your phone, you sure wish you had a pause button to make sure that you could get back into the cave with no problems at all. So if you've ever had that feeling yourself, you imagine that it's even more important for these players whose livelihoods, whose status, whose rank in the tournament are on the line. So I hope you guys don't mind being a little bit patient when these situations do occur.
Have some empathy for these players, and yes, they are doing their absolute best to give you an entertaining match, but also, this is their full-time job, man. They got to focus on what gets them the big bucks, and especially for the Homeboys who are already down like an 8-point deficit. They really need to be able to rack up these points early on within the weeks. And Suhaz, you know, after having a really disappointing Season 8, they need to start making sure that Suhaz is a name to be feared.
Yeah, today is definitely a proving ground, and these two teams are embodying that spirit right now. We are now going to return back into the game. Not much has happened, of course. We did just pause right as the game begun, but that means no problem. Nothing is going to be stopped. The momentum, absolutely fine.
And here we go, the Ace once again in the middle of the enemy jungle, continuing to be fairly annoying here. Seifel now coming in to actually harass him in the middle of the river here. AJ manages to get some very early pressure to give Lethal Wanderer over the box, but let's see whether this Hayabusa game is going to be different compared to the past two, one from the Homeboys and one from Suhaz.
I'm sure that all Hayabusa players out there want Box to prove that their hero has what it takes to be able to secure victory even in the current meta, where consistent DPS is very, very important, and we'll find out whether or not that's the case down here in the bottom lane as well. This is going to be a rough fight for either of these heroes. Eevee as well as Irfan are both fairly durable and can output a fair bit of damage themselves.
Eevee, as long as he's able to keep Irfan in the lane, he is doing a good job. He's not expected to absolutely demolish the lane, but he needs to control it, because the moment Irfan gets ahead and starts bleeding his lead in towards the other lanes, that's when it becomes a huge problem from Suhaz Esports. Now, once again, as you can see, Box chilling down by Gold Crab here. As you can see, GB walking right up into it, knowing that the Ace is just keeping tabs on him consistently, allowing Eevee to maintain control and pressure of the lane. 4 members on the bottom side here as Anip needs help from Seifel, as HYHY has a significant advantage in lane against the Claude.
Yep, this is the power of the Popo and Koopa. You're basically in a 2v1 situation all the time, so the enemy has to even it up, which does mean that Box can start working on the turtle, since he knows where 2 players are. But guess what? The 3rd player is up there as well, and he is looking for blood. So far, Purple and Koopa still surviving. Box, will he be able to secure this? He's actually gonna stay away from it for a moment. Luckily, his team is able to secure it, and now they immediately turn over to Irfan. First blood going over to Chibi, gets the kill onto the Purple and Koopa, but Suhaz Esports gonna even it up straight away with the kill onto the Paquito.
Yep, very textbook moves coming on from both sides. Suhaz is just focusing on these neutral objectives. Homeboys, knowing that they can't get on it, looks to try and punish HY up on the top side and managed to take away 99% of the gold shield, the energy shield on these Tyrants. First blood bounty achieved by Suhaz. Sorry, Homeboys.
Yeah, sometimes it does get confusing when you are so invested into the game, but I hope all of you guys are still paying attention to make sure we can witness which of these teams comes out on top. EV now in a 2v1 situation, but he is playing the glue, so that shouldn't be too much problem for him. He cuts the lane and instantly starts walking into the enemy jungle to zone out the members of Homeboys.
See, this is what we're talking about. It's all about control. Now, Suhaz have turned their attention up towards the top side, but it's going to be hard to catch away at Anip, who has a battle mirror image, unless they get a really good initial charge coming in from the ace. Mid lane needs to be shoved up, so it's all about that timing. So for Anip, he understands that if the mid waves are already crashing, he needs to play a little bit safer, wait for the waves to kind of come into him before he sticks his nose back out.
I am wondering whether or not Anip will be able to get the farm he needs here to start scaling up. As we know, Claude as a hero does take quite a bit of time. Although changes were made to allow him to start scaling up a lot sooner, it will still take him a little bit longer than that of HY, especially when you consider how much help he needs in lane as well, going up against the Purple and Koopa.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that, like, there's just so many members up on this top side. Like, you can even see in lane boxes just ready to actually go in, and they find the initial stun on towards Seiful's side. They're going for the major engagement, but Seiful instead just goes for the circling eagle. He gives up his life over to HY as they now will contest for the turtle. That's going to be 3 ults down for the side of Suhaz Esports, and Homeboys think it's pretty worth it.
Okay, the turtle getting really low. Who's going to get it? A stun onto Chibi, but he still manages to secure the turtle. Now the Blazing Duet going to come out. Not a lot of damage though, and that is probably the worst time for a pause I have ever seen.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can even see Seiful just like, no, he's scratching his head, pulling up his fringe, and he's just like, God, what happened now? I'm not entirely sure which side is having the technical issues at this point of time, but hey, timing is already passed, and luckily Chibi was still managing to secure the Lord for him, secure the turtle for himself in the middle of that fight, because Vince had a really good yin-yang overturn that really made it difficult to judge the retribution timing.
Yep, and unfortunately DA's did time his stun a little bit wrong. I think he went for it a little bit too early. If he had timed it a little bit later, I think it would have made it more difficult for Chibi to be able to get the retribution onto the turtle, but he was able to secure it in the end. What I am worried about now is that after this pause, the players are going to come back into the match, and I kind of doubt they will have exact memory of where they are in the team fight.
That's a good. That's actually, to be fair, that's a pretty good point here, and I think it's going to be hard to figure it out based off of memory. But hopefully, when we come back into the game, we still get to catch the action and not just see the aftermath.
I think this is one of those situations where people can call it a strategic pause. Obviously, that is not the case. That kind of thing isn't allowed around here. But both these teams are now in a situation where once the game resumes, they'll need just a moment, like 1 second, to realize, okay, where am I in the fight? And who can I go on? Should I escape? We'll find out. But the fight has already concluded. Doesn't look like there were any casualties from either side. I think after the pause, they both just agreed. Neither of us have any idea where we are. Let's just agree to disagree.
It's just backing away here. But now Seiful is going to get punished. Immediately hit by the charge. He goes for the circling eagle. He already uses guiding wind, so he has no way to escape anymore. And not to mention, all he has is Purify, which is on cooldown. So literally no more escape mechanics.
Obviously, Seifel dying here and there isn't ideal, but it is creating space for the rest of his team. Space that Suhaz now want to deny, forcing a Nip to back away, and that'll allow them to take the top tier 1 tower.
Yep, and they have already broken it, and this is what's so frustrating because now Suhaz Esports are investing the time and effort into that top side of the map compared to the bottom side, which they were doing earlier, and Eevee, he's just buying as much time. In the split, he was not able to stack enough on any of his targets to hop on before breaking away. He ends up giving that kill over to the Homebois.
That was actually a weird move by Eevee there. He flickered behind the enemy team and then tried to ult. I guess he just took way more damage than he was expecting, but HY doing the same. Luckily, the shield will keep him up. Numenon Blast ensures that the rest of the Homebois aren't going to follow up onto the Popol and Koopa, but now Chibi and Seifel coming down bottom. DA is going to delay him for just a little while, but I think neither team is going to engage right now.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because if Homebois decide to go for this fight, I mean, there's no Numenon Blast to disengage in Irfan. He was wanting to chunk out AJ as much as he can, forcing out the black shoes, but the Ace doing a very good job at mitigating the damage while AJ clears up the lane.
Yeah, this is just well played by the side of Suhaz Esports. They're not allowing Homebois to get the dive that they want to. However, it did force them to move multiple of their members down to the bottom lane, allowing a Nip on the Claw to get free farm on the other side of the map.
Yep, it buys him a little bit of time, but nobody has a guaranteed lead. It's still dead even, but here comes the point flip. Chibi wants to go in. He managed to take away the turtle. The Numenon Blast does hit onto one target, and Seifel dodges it with the circling eagle. It's going to be Hayabusa with the Oki Shadow Killers. Irfan tries to run away. He's chunked out. He can't do much, and it's Eevee who catches him off. It's going to be 20 seconds before he's back. It's a 1-for-0, but Homebois able to secure the turtle again. 2 times under Suhaz Esports' noses.
I think we have to give some props over to Irfan there in that last fight because I'm pretty sure he actually got the knockout strike onto Box during the retribution timing, and that allowed Chibi to steal it from under his nose, even though he ideally should have been in the perfect position to be able to secure it. That is just unfortunate.
Yeah, really unfortunate indeed. And you can see Chibi 2 items. Oh no, he's caught out in the middle and is trying to save him there. He can't really do too much. Sorry, Vince trying to actually push out the mid lane, and Seifel holding on to his own. The Guiding Wind does save Chibi's life there, but they gotta be very careful of AJ. The amount of damage he's able to dish out already is pretty phenomenal, so they have to give him that respect. They don't have that same lead like they did in their previous match.
In fact, neither of these teams have the lead right now because the net worth is dead even from either side, and they're playing with full respect of their opponents, not taking any risks that aren't necessary, and having multiple members grouped up to go for attempts here. But guess what? Ogi's Shadow Kill not doing enough damage, gives the killing spree over to the Homebois.
Yeah, Box unfortunately did not have his quad shadows up, and he tried to dodge the ability with his ult, trying as Vince baits it out of him with his yin-yang overturn. A good play coming in from Vince as now they will crack open a very key point in the map. AJ might be in some trouble here, but he does clear up the lane and saves the mid lane. Lord coming back up in 6 seconds.
Now Homebois are rotating down bottom. The Ace has to stun Irfan to allow his friend to get away, which means that he will sacrifice his life. Irfan gets the kill, but at the very least, HYHY will be able to escape from that gank.
Yep, this entire time Anip has been hard farming as much as he can, and even taking away farm from Chibi on the top side of the map here. AJ taking, oh my goodness, a good amount of damage here, but does not force him to use the black shoes just yet.
I think we have to note that Anip is already level 11. He is matching Box in terms of EXP and 2 levels up on HYHY, so the Claude is actually farming pretty well.
Yep, and now Lord should be falling into their hands as both Box and Eevee just holding on to their own here as the rest of Homebois decide to collapse onto the back line of Suhaz. HYHY goes down first. Irfan is trying to get on out as Eevee continues to create space, getting on top of Chibi so far, but that's gonna be, it's gonna be Box who secures the kill onto Irfan for now and resetting the Lord. Both sides will not give an inch to each other.
We have to note this whole time as well, Eevee was 1v1ing Chibi up in the top lane. He got his ultimate off on him, but the damage on the Roger is going to outscale the Glue by quite a bit, especially now that we've reached this point in the game. So while the game is still pretty even, Homeboys have managed to secure a 2k net worth lead. Is this a herald to the end, or will Suhaz Esports prove that it is nothing more than a pebble in their path?
Oh boy, it's tough to say here. I mean, the game has only been lasting for so long, and it's a total of 11 kills so far. It's really hard to say, but Homeboys are very comfortable as their next item power spike is coming in about a minute or so. And if Suhaz doesn't start retaking some gold across the map, it's going to be really, really tough to contest them on this Lord.
Alright, now Suhaz Esports going in. Eevee already in the backline. The Ace and AJ taking a fair bit. Irfan with the double knockout strike forces out the Ogi Shadow kill, but it's not really doing much damage. Chibi gets the Lord. Box in a lot of trouble, has to run away. Unstoppable streak onto HYHY. Chibi will be able to secure the kill. Meanwhile, Eevee has managed to get his ult onto Vin, so he is able to kill the Kagura, but that puts him in a bad spot. Double kill going over to Chibi.
Oh, that was such an awkward position to fight for the side of Suhaz, but Homeboys played that well, kept Suhaz Esports split apart, break open the mid lane at the same time to add more salt to the wound. It is going to be a 1-for-2 trade in favor of the Homeboys, and they're going to continue their onslaught.
Yep, and they did manage to get the Lord on top of that as well, which will start shoving in the top lane. Again, the first Lord of the game, not too big of an issue if they're able to defend against it, but now Homeboys, their lead is starting to really increase, and when you consider the amount of scaling that the Clot is able to do at this stage of the game, Suhaz are not going to have enough DPS to deal with it, since they do have the double tank composition.
Yep. When it comes down to damage here, so far I think Homeboy should be able to completely outscale Suhaz at this stage of the game. Even when it gets down to the late game, just the raw AoE, it's all going to be dependent on whether or not the Ace can get a strong Numenor Blast on at least 3 targets. One of those targets has to be on him.
Yep, and now Lord pushing in top. Suhaz should be able to defend against it. Eevee gonna be able to push back the lane in the mid side as well. But Suhaz are a bit spread out right now. Ogi Shadow kill being popped. A Nib quite low, but Box not going to be able to get the kill. So it looks like Homeboys, they're just gonna be able to walk away scot-free.
Yep, I mean, Homeboys so far just going to have to wait their time as they get another turret for themselves. However, they're looking to crack at least an inhibitor turret on this next upcoming push here. They are running out of time before Suhaz does catch up. They are 6k ahead in terms of gold, so now it's about choking Suhaz Esports out of their own jungle economy. The Ace trying to get in some position to keep Vision on top of them, but how long do they want to go as Anib goes straight into the middle of the Guardian's Bulwark, blocking a good amount of damage, but AJ unfortunately has to take the black shoes, flickers over the wall. Chibi almost came picking him up, but Seifel on the complete opposite side, on towards the top side of the map, can't do much to actually save that day. Eevee in the middle, he's got the immortality, so he's not afraid of death, goes into the split, and finally, Homeboys call it quits.
I'm actually surprised at how little damage a Nib did with that blazing duet there. Suhaz Esports all survive no problem and are able to chase away the members of Homeboys. So far, good defense coming out from them, but with the Lord coming up in another 20 seconds, things are going to start getting dicey.
Yep, that's Guardian's Bulwark, baby. That's why the Ace is very, very scared. And more importantly, just holding up onto that Guardian's Bulwark until absolutely necessary. He can't just use it willy-nilly because that gives an opening for the Homeboys to use their really powerful AoE in the Blazing Duet.
Yeah, the Lord is now up. The Ace gonna be able to scout it out. He knows that the Homeboys are starting to work on it. They have to decide their approach very, very carefully. Eevee coming in from the mid lane. The Ace still stalling Irfan, trying to keep him in place long enough for the rest of his team to drop by. But neither side is really looking to 100% invest just yet.
And they've already started things off. The split coming in from Eevee. He's looking for any target he can latch upon, and I think that might be a target on towards Irfan, maybe? No, but they find the catch onto the Ace, and he's going to get chunked down. He's still holding on. He manages to get on out of there, but that just means this Luminous Lord is going to fall into the hands of the Homeboys.
That is, unless Suhaz Esports can suddenly turn around and try something, but it looks like they will elect not to do that. Box has already been stopped from taking the Lord multiple times before, and does not want to take that risk this late into the game.
It's unfortunate to say the least, but Suhaz are now in a very dire situation. Homeboys will need to at least crack 2 inhibitors to make it worth their time. They're saving and clearing up the top lane as well, making sure that tier 2 doesn't fall down. Looking at the item list so far, I mean, AJ is in a comfortable position. HY needs one more item. Eevee is extremely good in his own position. And even Box, he's got more than enough items to actually dish out good damage, but just not enough when it comes down to how many items Homeboys has in retrospect.
In comparison, Anip is already full build and Chibi is getting close himself, so their scaling is really coming online. Suhaz Esports now has to defend a Luminous Lord pushing in the top lane and all of the Homeboys pushing in to try and get as many structural objectives as they can.
Okay, so this tier 2 goes down. Luminous Lord crashes in towards the top inhibitor here. They aren't dedicating too many resources into pushing them off. Suhaz is just giving it to them for now. If they can lead it over to the mid inhibitor, that would also be great, but the Ace will not let that happen as bot side also gets shredded, but not enough to really put in any major damage. The fight is in an awkward position, but it looks like Eevee gets into the middle with split. Syphil can pull out one of their members as Irfan manages to get out just in time so he doesn't get pulled back. Eevee, on the other hand, has to pull away. Yin Yang overturn coming in from Vince as he purchased the Holy Crystal and Numenon Blast onto 2, but here comes the Blazing Duet. It comes out perfectly. The Ace manages to get up his Guardian's Bulwark just in time, but not enough to save some of their bigger members. Eevee walks away with a sliver of HP, but now another inhibitor has fallen as Homeboys continue on as they push into the enemy base. Suhaz Esports has taken way too much damage.
The attempt by Eevee to pull Irfan back was actually thwarted by a very well-timed jab coming out of the Paquito. He knew exactly when he was getting pulled back and instantly walked away, but the Winter Trunkian not going to be able to survive. Vince gets taken out and now they're aiming down Syphil and Chibi. Irfan gonna buy some time for them. Suhaz Esports grouped out quite a bit. Syphil gonna get immobilized, locked down, pulled back, immortality, gonna be popped, but instantly Homeboys turns it around, godlike streak, going over the Chibi. The Ace now dropping real low, almost dies, but is able to escape. Eevee picks off the Matilda in the backline, but he's not going to be able to save himself as the Claude picks up the kill onto the glue. 3 for 2.
Anip has the time to shine, waiting ever so patiently to get into the middle, even starting off the Blazing Duet early to get a little bit more stacks of the Art of Thievery before jumping straight into the back line here. And as we can see, Irfan gets absolutely shredded down by HY as Anip, wait, he ends up dying, he pops the immortality and now he's in trouble, but he doesn't have Winds of Nature anymore as they pick up the Ace, but they cannot end the game. They are forced to move away and Suhaz will be respawning to clear up their lanes one more time. Homeboys in perfect position to get another Lord.
That was definitely a bit of a mistake coming out from Homeboys there. They were in prime position to turn that fight into a victory on the game. Luckily, Suhaz Esports were able to defend that and get a kill onto Anip, forcing him to use his immortality, which meant that Homeboys had to retreat. But as you mentioned, Lord is now open. Suhaz Esports needs to make sure this does not go over to their opponents.
Yep, they can really contest this now. They pretty much got more than enough items. Oh, but now it's too late. They're going to be running down, and unfortunately, a Winter Truncheon is going to be popped straight away. AJ is down. Large majority of the damage dealers, and even Eevee melts like absolute butter as Anip shreds him with the Blazing Duet. It's too late, and it's way too much damage. By the time they respawn, it's going to be right at the cusp of when their crystal is getting under attack.
This is going to be a rough one. 3v5. Bugs, HY, and the Ace have to defend against all these members of Homeboys. Ogi Shadow Kill already popped out to try and do as much damage as possible, and Box is going to use Quad Shadow to try and distract them, which surprisingly is actually working, but it looks like he will waste his life in exchange. Legendary streak going over to Chibi as he now pushes up top lane and tries to clear as many of the minions as possible. Still a few seconds before AJ and Eevee join the rest of their team.
It's too late. They jump straight onto him with the Yin Yang overturn and the Blazing Duet. HY, Winds of Nature is a little too late. He's too low, and that's gonna be it. Homeboys gonna be taking the game 2-1. A good victory against Suhaz Esports.
They tried, but they weren't quite.
Cuba counter di game kedua.